now. Where is she? Oh, hi. Anyway, very impressive background. She's currently president of the Democratic Women's Club of Florida, which is the largest Democratic caucus in the state of Florida. It has 64 chartered clubs and close to 4,000 members. So, and she's also got a whole list of other things that she's done. You know, she's been very active in the climate, in the environmental movement. I sat on the legislative committee with her, and that was her focus, was on the climate. So, anyway, I'll let her talk, but we had some other visitors. I don't know if Bert's here or not. Did you make it here? No. Okay. Well, we have 3 people from Citrus County. Why don't you guys stand up?
Actually, 4.
Okay, 4 from Citrus County. And they're a very active club. They've been really successful, and we're coming up on close to them, but we're not quite as large as they are now. But they do have an annual luncheon, which we try to have our people go to, and the next one is March 8th, and I'll send out information about it. But it's for scholarship. It's a scholarship fund, so a very worthy cause. And Meri's going to talk about where do we go from here. I know a lot of people have been down, upset, about what happened with the election, but we have to actually keep going and moving forward, because otherwise we're going to have more issues. Anyway, we're not going to be able to solve all the problems, but maybe we can at least slow them down, or convert some of the local. I think the local and state are going to be probably more important for 2026. So I'll let Meri talk.
Keep it. Don't worry about it. State's got plenty of money. I don't need yours.
Pay for your travel.
It's okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, my name is Meri Forte-Namuj, and I am the state president of the Democratic Women's Club of Florida. And I'm honored that Sue Dubbin invited me to speak today. I know Sue is extremely active, and I know that we're all kind of suffering right now. We're wondering, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm always happy to share time with my persisters. So, the women that are Democratic women, please let me know, where are the persisters in the room? Come on, girls. We are each other's sister in this organization, and we welcome men who support women, obviously. I am always happy to share time with you, and I take great joy to be in a room with independent, free-spirited, hard-working women and men who support women. First and foremost, do not let anyone steal our joy. And I think that's the message to give to all of you. Pat, I heard you working hard. Be realistic about what we deal with day to day, all right? If you're going to go into an election, you have 50% chance of winning and 50% chance of losing. And so you take a look at why. What could we have done better? Or what did we do and we're not celebrating? And that is one of the things that we want to talk about. So don't let anybody take our joy. We have not changed. Our desires are the same. Recent news has kept me laughing. Honestly, if you put the news on in the last 48 hours, if you weren't doubled over laughing hysterically, you're missing the point, okay? It kept me laughing as I am watching stupidity on steroids coming out of Mar-a-Lago and Washington. We will witness a circular firing squad soon enough. Do you understand what I mean by that? They're going to be shooting each other. Now, we've got bets going on, and my parliamentarian says March. I think it's going to be a little later, but it's coming. And if you heard Hakeem Jeffries yesterday, you know the Democrats are not going to be silent about this. They're not supporting Johnson. They're really not supporting the Republicans. They are supporting the people of America. Sue conveyed she wanted to know where we should go from here, especially after the election, and the disappointment we've been dealing with. How do we move forward? This question hit me as soon as I heard the election results. People across our state, and even those I met at a recent conference from across the country, are all feeling the same. We know we had a great candidate. She was everything you could possibly want in a presidential candidate. She was. With all the hard work we put in over a short period of time, it just wasn't enough. And the question comes up, why wasn't it enough? Especially after living through 4 years of Trump. And that's when questions kept coming to me, this is in my own mind, with no immediate answers. So we go back to the stupidity. I've given up on ignorance. There is no excuse anymore. Folks know what this guy is like. He's a snake oil salesman. Wake up. Really? And that's when all right, so I was fortunate enough to be accepted for registration to attend the 6th conference, which is the State Innovation Exchange. I knew nothing about this. Our past president called me and said, we have an opportunity to go to this conference in Atlanta, and it's about legislation. The reason why I was interested in this was because it pertained to state legislation, which Sue kind of said something about, because I handle the environmental, I'm the specialist on environment for our legislative committee. But I'm up there. I've already been up there twice, and I'll be going up again in the next 4 months, over and over and over again. I get to sit and watch the abuse that our Democratic legislators take from these outrageous and honestly just downright nasty Republicans. Before I even received information about the conference, I knew that one of the most crucial things to consider was the direction the Supreme Court was taking, particularly regarding states' rights and the potential impact of federal laws being trumped by state rights if enacted in 2025. My motivation for attending the 6th conference was to witness firsthand what transpired there. I had heard rumors that it was essentially the Democratic version of AIPAC, where initiatives and bills they wanted to pass were discussed. However, this was not the case. The conference focused on state legislators from across the country, including progressive thinking legislators, not radicals, but those who advocated for progressive change. The conference was organized by a much younger group of people, yet the attendees were average probably 55, 60. These were legislators from all over the country. 48 states had representatives there. The speakers and breakout sessions provided a constant stream of information that we rarely receive, which greatly aided my preparation for today and equipped me with tools to guide the organization as we navigate the changes we're experiencing. It's undeniable that our political environment has evolved. While Republicans tend to, and we need to adapt. Democrats tend to be tree huggers, that's us, we fall in love. While Republicans fall in line. And we need to start thinking more strategically. I recognized this a few years ago and began speaking and working on assembling a strategic planning committee to help us navigate the changes we've been feeling in the state. And Sheila Regan, Sheila, raise your hand. She is the chair of the strategic planning committee. Reason why? She's really a strategic planner. There are several strategic thinkers on this committee, the best that we have. Philip Miner is one of them, Yvette Spano is another, Patty Cohen is another. For those of you in the club, you know who I'm talking about. They'll help set policy for us moving forward. The policy will be presented to our board, but I believe this is what we're going to have to focus on. Let's analyze what's happening and what we can do to be effective in Florida. We're fortunate to have Judy Mount, the Democratic Caucus Director of the House of Representatives in Tallahassee, backing us. House reps welcome us there because I've been told we're the only group that visits and supports them weekly, and they appreciate it. We also feed them. Why would we get you everywhere? This gives us insights into their policies and their voting patterns. We can identify which bills they support, submit, and need to fight. So I went up about 3 weeks ago with our new Tally Day leaders for training in Tallahassee, and we were invited by the director to sit at lunchtime with the House of Representatives. These were the new representatives that were just elected, to sit in with them during their training. So those are the advantages that we have when we go up, that we're invited to such events. We can identify, we identify which bills they support, submit, and need to fight. We're essentially operating under the radar, which we are. We're very stealth about what we do. As pointed out by 6, the Republicans won because of the misinformation and disinformation they have spread to their supporters for years through various media and social outreach. We're not keeping up. And I mean the Democratic Party and all their clubs and caucuses are not keeping up. And the only station we have left is MSNBC, and I know I'm one of them. I've been boycotting it because of Morning Joe. And they've lost 50% of their viewers. I want you to think about what we're doing here. We're at risk of losing the only channel we have. We don't get the information we need from the Democratic Party. Where are we going to get it from? All right, and I can tell you that because after being at 6, what I said was, there was information that I received there that I've not received from any other source. All right, so I'm letting you know what I'm banging up against, trying to get the skills and the information we need to figure out how are we going to handle this? How do we move forward? It'll be worse if we lose MSNBC. So my suggestion is, I'm personally doing this, I go on to the shows that I like because I want those people to still be reporting. If you want to boycott Morning Joe, I don't blame you, but on Fridays usually the other guy is on. So just letting you know. We need to reach voters. We really do. And they need to hear from us. Here's a good example. After the disastrous couple of days in Washington regarding the appropriations bill to keep the government running, we discovered another precedent. It was an African American, a bit eccentric, who called the shots and stopped the bill. The reason for the stoppage? The debt ceiling, because somehow in the last week someone realized that they couldn't push through their tax break for billionaires unless the tax ceiling was removed or significantly increased. If you analyzed what happened, it's clear that after 4 years of Trump being in the White House, he's learned nothing about government. You have this guy who runs a business, if you want to call it that, and then you have the richest man in the world who simply buys businesses and makes a tremendous amount of money. He's using his platform to beat us. Okay, he really is. And he doesn't have the right to do it. But it's free speech. So if you have these billionaires who are now going to dictate how the country is run and what they want to do, However, they don't understand that government is not a business. It's not, it's for the people, the government's for the people. It's not for making a profit. So this Doge thing that he's coming up with is basically slashing expenses as if they were taking over another company.
Right.
But we're not a company. This is really dangerous, okay? We also need to recognize that Florida has been essentially the testing ground for 2025. We've been living it for 3 years. Anybody that's been to Tallahassee, anybody that's looked at their insurance bills, anybody that's looked at the public prices of food, you have to know that that is all planned. So we already know what the rest of the country is supposed to look like because we are the ones that have been tested. One of the things I signed up for and learned about was preemptive legislation. How many of you heard about preemption in legislation? Only one hand?
No.
2, 3, 4? Okay. In the state of Florida, bills that have been passed many years ago, the past 10 years, the past 3 years, the past 2 years, the bills that they don't want, they've been rolling them back. We actually have somebody on our legislative team that simply watches preemption and watch what bills they're trying to pull back. Right now, they laid a bunch of bills on the table that didn't pass last year. They're gonna come back again. A lot of those bills will destroy what was initially a law in the state that they don't like, that they wanna roll back. And I thought they were just rolling back bills because they didn't like them. But I didn't understand that preemption is a way to start destroying democracy step by step. And so I'm going into what I learned at 6. Many of the bills that have been passed over the last 60 years have always been progressive. Our bills. They've worked to eliminate discrimination, equalize pay for minorities and women, protect our seniors and children, protect the disabled, protect voter rights, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and provide a path for immigration. Preemption legislation erodes all of it. Those are the bills that are being turned back, like parts of our civil rights, our election bills. So what's next? For us, defending democracy against abusive preemptions and restoring local power. So let's talk about this. What they've done is they've also removed from local politicians, commissioners, city councils, the ability to push through the bills that they want locally. State is now saying, and there's a whole slew of these, you can't do this without our approval. And that is in the state of Florida. So if every state in the union does this, 2025 lives. We have to defend democracy against abusive preemptions and restoring our local power. Preemption blocks the power of the people. Let me say that again. These preemption legislation bills are blocking our power. We must fight abusive preemption. Who is behind all of this? You're gonna love this. Federalists and, more importantly, white Christian nationalists, hello, the villages, confounding advocacy organizations, and low-educated Americans who will not oppose authoritarianism. I'll say that again. They're pulling the education from our children because they don't want them to be smart. They don't want them to be educated. So if you're in the South, you're going to have idiots for kids, unless you find a way to change this. And by the way, public schools are closing down across the country because of lack of funding. It's happening now. There was a lot of discussion about preemption at the state Senate meeting, but I can honestly say that because I attend tally days and am involved with the legislation we do, I've seen it already. I just didn't understand the full impact of it, and I didn't. What can we do? Let's start by taking joy wherever we can find it. We know, and I'm thankful for that. and understand pretty much what we're facing. We do know what we're facing, okay? It's scary, it's dangerous, but those who voted for this guy, they really don't know what's coming because they've drunk, the Kool-Aid. They honestly believe they put him in office to fix things. After the last week, I would think they would start asking questions. So, if you're on a Social Security check and it's a good part of your income, you better be worried. If you have Medicare, Medicaid, those are on the block. If you're a veteran, your VA benefits are going to be affected. This is, if you're disabled, your disability is going to be affected. Anything that we have from the government, and remember, that money comes from us. It's what we pay in taxes that supports these bills. So it's not like they're saying we're taking their money. We paid for it. Oh, it's terrible. So I'm going to say this, and people may have heard me say it, and I'm going to say it again and again. My background is in computers, and when I used to have to do new projects for managers of different departments, you would go in and ask them what they needed, and you'd document it, and you would sit there and argue with them that this isn't going to work the way they want it to work, and they'd say, no, this is what we want, this is what we want. We'd get them to sign off on the agreement, because it's theirs, and then we would build what they wanted on our computers. And then when we were testing them, they would complain bitterly. The comment was, and this is for our Republican friends, and anyone who voted for Trump, you got exactly what you asked for. I'm sorry, it's not what you wanted. And that is the difference between them and us. We know it's coming. We can somewhat prepare. So I make suggestions to a lot of the women that are talking to me. If there's a Costco or a BJ's nearby, I don't go to Sam's Club for obvious reasons. But if you are a household of two, but to save money, you have two more friends that are willing to go in. One of you becomes a member, you share the membership. One person goes shopping, you can go with them. You pay for the bills. When you get outside, you split it up 3 ways. You're going to save a lot of money doing that. A lot of money. Okay? That's one way to try to help. And the meat in Costco, by the way, is the same distributor as the distributor for Publix, who is the distributor for the really good restaurants in St. Petersburg. Just giving an FYI. So these people that voted for this guy, they don't know what's coming. They honestly believe they put him in office to fix things. And after last week, I'm saying this again, I would think they would start asking questions. Start listening when you're out and about. One of the things I did do was ask my husband the night things blew up in Washington. I said to him, I'm giving you a project. I want you to watch Fox News and tell me what you think. Because I personally cannot watch it. That's his job. So, on the news, they're talking about how this bill failed, how Musk, was the one that started it, and by the way, he got what he wanted. He's going to be able to do what he wants manufacturing in China. He did pressure these people enough that they passed what he wanted for the Chinese stuff. And then a couple hours later, I guess Trump felt that he looked kind of weak, so he got out there and said, yeah, and he wanted to start with the debt ceiling. And so it was all over the news, and they're talking about Social Security, all of our benefits, how it's going to, impact children, how it's going to impact SNAP, how it's going to impact Head Start, how it's going to impact everyone who's been affected by the climate disasters this last year, okay? And what's on Fox News? Love it. They didn't address the potential cuts, okay? They didn't talk about TSA not getting funded. Despite this, they continue to deny the truth. You know what they talked about? They talked about sanctuaries being built in Chicago. That's how bad the disinformation is. So they absolutely are not getting information. Despite this, they continue to deny the truth. We need to take action and inform people about these bills when they start coming up in our state. We should let them know that Republicans have been in charge for 30 years and have created the mess we're in. They are responsible for this situation and we need to hold them accountable. How many of you have heard about the TICO increase? I think TICO went to the division again for energy at the state, asking for an increase. I think they wanted like 8%. They gave them 10. You need to be watching what's going on. This is what I do in my spare time. And I don't have much of that. It's interesting to note that Democrats' brand is currently negative, and I mean this when I say it. I'm a proud Democrat.
Yeah.
I have worked, I cannot tell you, I have 50 years fighting for Roe and civil rights. I started when I was 15. I turned 75 a couple of weeks ago. Okay? 50 years. I tell you, I'm tired. But in the environment we're living in, please, for your own safety and for being able to do what we need to do, and I call it SBD, silent but deadly.
What? I didn't hear what you said.
We want to be silent, but we want to do it very quietly, stealth, under the radar. Leave your Democratic swag home, your buttons, your t-shirts, even your flags. If you're going to work and try to talk to people, the minute they see the word Democrat, you're dead. All right? They've killed our brand.
Yeah.
If you don't understand branding, when you see a word, an acronym, anything that you associate to something, that's the brand. And leaving Atlanta, coming home, there were 2 huge billboards that said, Democrats are destroying America. That's what's going on outside. This is what I saw, I couldn't believe it. If you want to have a conversation with someone, you need to discuss an issue and find a quiet way to start it. But that will be impossible if you're identified as a Democrat. Now, you all got a lot of people around here that you must bump into. And if you're in the store and people are really complaining about $19.99 a pound for a standing roast, that's a good conversation to start. Quietly. We live in rural areas which are predominantly white and Republican. It's important to remember that 54% of white women voted for Trump. That means white Democratic women voted for Trump, along with the Republicans. The percentages are there. All right? Why? After everything that they've seen, and they've seen what has happened, maybe they're not seeing it. All right, we see it. Remember, they're not getting the information that we know. How do we get it across to them? You know, it's the way we speak. It's the way, if somebody says something about abortion, you can mention, really, it's not about abortion. It's about the choice. It's the right to choose. All right? And the right to choose is freedom. If you believe in this country and you believe in freedom, you should have the right to choose. It's that simple. You have to take that, you know, kind of twist it, pivot away from the obvious and go to the sublime, quietly. We need to talk to our white sisters, and I don't mean Democratic sisters, okay? We have to do it. We can't expect the base of our party, which is really black women who've been holding us up all these years, to do this job, because they're not going to be able to get to the white women. It's our job. And you guys are living right in the middle of it. I hate to say it, but you really are. So, and this is something you can do quietly. You don't have to say you're a Democrat. You don't have to go right to the punch, but just drop little seeds. You know what I mean? Just little seeds. Geez, why is it that standing roasts are $19.99 in Publix, but they're like $6.99, $7.99 somewhere else? I don't understand why Publix is charging this much for Eggland's Best when I can get it in Walmart for $2 less. Little things like that. Get them thinking. We need to put those little seeds in it's an Italian thing. My son calls it the guilt. And when I start dropping those little things, he's aware now, he's 40, what I'm doing. Says, you're pulling a guilt trip on me again. And I'm like, yeah, you're damn right I am. And that's the way we need to really approach this. If you wanted to know where we go, I'm letting you know. It's different than where we have been. We have to be different because we're working in a different environment. All right? We really are. We need to talk to our sisters and let them know that they will be affected just like us. They rely on Social Security, Medicare, VA benefits, which are all at risk if Republicans get their way. Additionally, if Trump imposes his tariffs, prices will increase on everything we buy, making it difficult for us to afford food. If we look at the current situation, it's clear that 2025 will be challenging for many of us. Two classes will exist: the ultra-rich billionaires and the rest of us. There will be no middle class. Take a look at what I'm saying. As he raises the tariffs, everything that we go to buy is going to increase. He's not going to lower the food. He's already admitted it. So if you have your Social Security slashed, the food prices go up, and everything else goes up, where do you think you're going to land? And he's taking the dignity away from us. It's really horrible. This is the reality we face. We need to start talking to our neighbors and finding solutions. Now, I keep saying this about neighbors because you have to understand. In our state, we're 1 million voters under the Republicans. Why? Because a lot of Democrats are middle class, lower class. They can't afford to live here. They've been moving out. All of these developers are building what I call new cities all over the place. Republicans are moving in. You have to turn the voters, all of them. So we have to reach across the aisle. We've got to find a way to get the information to them. Because I honestly believe if they knew the truth, okay, they would be thinking differently. I try to keep things simple. For instance, I was at the supermarket on Monday looking at rib roast. It was $19.99 a pound. A woman standing next to me said, "What are they feeding these cows? Gold?" She was horrified. That's the perfect time to discuss the rising prices and inflation. There are opportunities to seize the moment. That's what I'm trying to get you to know. You know, pardon? What's the answer? What is the answer to what? Oh, that question I told her. I said, you could get it cheaper, but if you wait till Thursday, it'll be $7.99 a pound. So I went Thursday to go get my rib roast. So what would have cost me $80, I got my rib roast for $31. I got a small one because I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning to go back to New York. I want to spend the holidays with my kids. So I bought turkey when it was on sale and froze it. I was in Charlotte. I bought a rump roast when it was on sale and froze it. I just bought a rib roast on sale and froze it. And then I thought, well, it's $7.99, I could get a ribeye steak. Because I ordered that one and I didn't like it. So I'm looking at things, $7.99 a pound, I'll pick up a couple of steaks. The steaks are $11.49 a pound. Figure that one out. Rib roast is $7.99, the same meat, all you do is cut it a little bit off, and that's a steak. $11.49. But it was 17 something, so I bought one anyway. Froze that too. Which brings me to something else. Our new treasurer told me she went and bought a new car. Because her Prius was like a 2013 Prius, I think. She bought a new car. She bought a new computer, so did I. And she's thinking about buying a refrigerator before these tariffs kick in. So if you have an appliance that is just kind of hanging on, you figured, I'll wait, He comes into office January 20th, just letting you know, just saying. Some suggestions made, and I've got to let you know, the people that were at this conference, Justin Post, one of the Tennessee Three. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Stacey Abrams. And so I'm going to go into what Stacey Abrams said. Actually took notes, and I'm going to tell you what she said, because this again is where we move forward. Some suggestions made by Stacey Abrams they don't seem to be helpful, but you really have to listen. And this is for you, so she believes that protesting will only make us targets. Okay? She believes in this environment, we need to avoid it, and we do. So my concern is for really active Democratic women in the state of Florida. During the election, I don't know if you heard this, but down in Indian River, a 70-year-old woman was standing in line. I think they were wave signing, and a 17-year-old came up and hit her in her stomach and knocked her down. Okay? He is in big trouble for abusing and injuring a senior. All right? It's a felony in Florida. In Jacksonville, a black election clerk in her polling place was accosted. A man and his wife came in, and he insisted to be there while she voted. And the clerk told him it's against the law, you cannot go with her. And he called her the N-word, cussed her out, told her to go back where she came from. All right, so I have been reaching out to find out who could talk to us on the webinar to give us some advice on how we work if we're going to be outside and doing things. And so Anna Escamani, because she was one of the sponsors, by the way, at 6, Anna is going to do that for us. Anna also has announced she's running for mayor of Orlando because she's terming out. And she has she just received her doctorate, so there's a lot going on for her. What they're saying is that we need to get information out, and progress is infinite and permanent. Our mission is forward to progress. In other words, we want to keep progressively moving. We need to look at things like Judd Bartlett said, from West Wing, what's next? Imagine you are the entire chain of freedom. Make sure that the chain doesn't break at your link. Resolve that not everyone will survive. Hope is required to survive the horrors. Make the revolution irresistible. Set a timeline and move forward. Determined to mitigate, some will be harmed. Our responsibility is how we leverage our access to mitigate in order to get through this. They only have lies and violence, but on our side, the truth, evidence, and history are our weapons. We cannot use, and this is important, we cannot use their metrics to measure our progress. So after the election, they said, the Democratic Party is gone, they lost the middle of the country. No, we didn't. We won almost all of our state races, except in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay? The question is, why didn't people vote for the top of the ticket? And I know that's being investigated, because it doesn't make sense that a Democrat would go in and vote down the ticket. You take a look at North Carolina, every seat was filled with a Democrat except for one minor.
Yeah.
But they voted for Trump? It doesn't make sense. And by the way, Hakeem Jeffries also said it this week. First, combat their misinformation. Tell the truth, and tell the truth to power. Our silence is our consent. So we have to be careful. That's why I'm saying speak under the radar. Get your point across, but they don't know what you're saying to them. You're just dropping little hints, tidbits that they're going to think about. But we can't stay silent. So when we can, we need to get active on that, and I'll speak about that. Imagine what we want next. Demand what we need next. Damaged by our inability to make optimal demands versus intermittent change, we need to build allies and not opponents. And that is our biggest problem right now. The Hillsborough DDC has imploded, and one of their House reps took an offer by the Republican Party and moved. So, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that was because of all the fighting that was going on in Hillsborough. We cannot stay focused on fascists, like forget it. Forget all of that, because it's just gonna bring you down. Our vision is a series of steps and movements incrementally leading to the big vision. The big vision is midterms, okay? That is the big vision. And any small election between now and then, and we can do what we do, all right? In terms of start phone banking again, it's the old fashioned way, all right? Texting is an issue right now because the Democratic Party is not renewing the contract with Movement Labs. And we're reaching out to Movement Labs to see if we can stay on. And if we can't, I'm probably gonna have to go over to Spoke until we find a portal that we can work with. So just letting you know that texting for us right now is in, all right? It's not just us, it's every club and caucus in the state. It was a bad move. This was done by a PAC outside of the party that made the contract. And Nikki didn't raise enough money to do this on her own, so the Democrats right now do not have any texting platform in the state of Florida as of December 31st. First, combat their misinformation. Tell the truth, okay? Our response to 2025. And this is what we're gonna be doing. I wanna let you know that the ACLU, I sat in on one of the breakouts, started planning in April 2024 against MAGA. We need to go on the offensive. We've been on the defense. Switch it. No longer are we doing that. We set our own goals, we work our own way, and we ignore that noise. Think about it. You shut your TV off, you don't hear it. So be careful, that's what I said. Choose the programs you want to listen, but we still need to support MSNBC, but don't have it on 24/7. You know, just don't. You don't need that noise. We need to be focused on what we're doing. All of our energy should be in that direction. Be ready to respond to crisis. Meaning, if a bill comes up in the state of Florida that we know is going to be bad, we're going to let you know. We need you to get active. Takes 5 minutes to send a text on your phone, send an email, make a phone call. 5 minutes. That 5 minutes could save us. We need a unified resistance with the ACLU and supporting our state and local lawmakers. So legislation and tally days is important to us. Consider action across state lines. If Georgia needs something, we'll let you know. Courts cannot be leaned upon for actions against civil rights. That's gone, all right? But state and local power has the ability to change all this, and we need to be there. So what I'm gonna let you know, what I learned from this, is that all of this is happening at the state level. The federal government can do what it can do, but it cannot get down into the state, all right? So we've been watching in Florida how they've been dismantling our laws and also supporting hatred at the same time, while their hands are in our pockets. And there's the guy, the insurance commissioner, there's nothing I can do. Climate change, hello. We get a few hurricanes a year. All right, we had a really bad one that the surge came in and it flooded a lot of people. But we weren't
we weren't North Carolina. We didn't have a complete area just completely wiped out. Or the fires in California that are continuous. Or the floods in the middle of the country with the tornadoes. So why is it that our insurance is the highest in the country? Why? My son moved from Charlotte in Memorial Weekend. They have 2 cars. They kept the same company policy, the same policy. They were paying almost $400 a month here in Clearwater. He's in Charlotte, they're paying $75 a month for both cars. So my daughter-in-law called the insurance agent 3 times. You must be making a mistake. Nope. They have the same coverage, same insurance company. They're paying $75 versus $400 a month. You have to ask yourself what's going on. All right? What's going on is to break the middle class. We are the testing ground. So the way to stop this, if we work within our states. So everybody at this conference has their marching orders. You have to get active with your legislators in the state you live in. And we've been doing it for we've been doing it really good for 3 years. We did it longer than that, but super active for 3 years. We are now positioned to really help. We found out that the blue alerts that were coming out previously were not coming from Judy Mount's area because it's against the law. So we have little buzzwords that are going to come out on Facebook from certain legislators to let us know this is an alert. That's how we're being told. We're working under the radar. All right? So with legislation, tally days, you need to go, you need to get active, you need to be on Tuesday nights. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you hear about a bill and you decide, that bill is really bothering me, and you start getting information about it, you can start with your own friends. Texting, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, phone calls, emails, I don't care how you do it. I personally am going on Blue Sky. And I'm gonna be putting out all the bills that I'm tracking in Blue Sky.
What is that?
Blue Sky is the new, it's, instead of being on X, okay? People are going, the Democrats and progressives are on Blue Sky. It's a little more friendly. And I'm gonna use that to push out what I've got. Also writing any opinion pages in, what is it, the Chronicle? They usually print, whenever I do that, they usually print what I put out. So I'm definitely gonna take a few choices and start talking to the public through there. The idea is we've gotta let people know the truth. And the only way we can do it is that. And I'll give you an example. My son-in-law is a Republican. My daughter really gave him hell because he voted for Trump. So Joy Reid put out on TikTok, she talked about Social Security and FICA. It was beautiful. It covers everything, including the Republican presidents that allowed Congress to take money out of Social Security, which they're not supposed to do. And they never paid it back, okay? They've been raiding it. So I sent that to him. My daughter calls me and she says, Mom, by the way, Jamie wants to talk to you about this. I said, you tell Jamie, whatever question he asks, look it up on Google. Because it's not me. The truth, the facts, whatever, go look it up, because it's documented. It's just the way we do things. So what we want to do here through our strategic planning committee is to put a series of steps together that we will be rolling out to the clubs when it comes to actual action and what you can do. But I want you to know that the environment we are in has changed, and what we've done in the past, we need to change. And I understand it's hard to get rid of old habits, but you're gonna have to do it. I'm doing it. Do you see my pin on? No, I have a 6 pin. Nobody knows what it means. I do. Okay? The other thing is, progressives, we've always shied away from that area. I think you're starting to hear that one of the reasons why we lost this race was the consultants are the same consultants over and over and over again that tend to get into these races and advise the candidates. And they tank them, they're no good. And they're starting to recognize it. We need to also recognize we need to start leading a little more progressive. And what I mean is, if you believe in Social Security, if you believe that our tax money should help kids with cancer, if you believe that we should be protecting people, the vulnerable, if you believe in civil rights, if you believe in DE&I, that is not a racial concept. DE&I actually protects seniors, women, disabled, everything, all right? And they are dismantling it. They're doing it under the guise that it's only because of race, okay? And the other thing I've got to say, there is not one black person in this room. Is this whole area just white?
Yeah, pretty much.
95%.
There's a black girl.
We have some people, you know.
I will make a suggestion, and you may think I'm crazy, but if there is a club in your area,
Yeah.
either the Black Caucus or, you know, I would say the Black Caucus, join it, or go visit them.
There's an African American club.
Okay, you can't bring them, they can't be members because they don't live here. But, oh, they live here. Then you need to invite some of those women. I'm sorry, but you have to do it. We have to look like and be like the areas where we live, and we are very much integrated right now. I mean, if you see my board and you see the women that are coming on board, our young women, it's mixed. All right? We now, and I couldn't say this 2 years ago. We have a number of black women in office, and we have a number of Latinas in office. I have a Latina region chair, and I have a Latina, she is, I'm trying to think, committee chair for Tally Days. And I'm proud of this. And we have so much fun when we're together. It's a lot of fun. Please reach out and invite them. This is important, it really is. We need to be reaching out to everybody. If I'm asking you to reach out to Republicans, okay, seriously. But that's where we're going. We also have a number of events coming up. We have a fundraiser February 8th, and that information is gonna come out. The tickets are gonna be $100 a piece. But you can go in the morning and go to the museum, it's the Appleton Museum. There's gonna be lunch. We're having a musician there. It is to honor Judy Mount. So there will be a number of politicians, legislators that will be coming to honor Judy with us. So I'm just letting you know about that. The board meeting, the state board meeting is at the Florida Hotel, January 11th. If you haven't gotten or reserved a room block, if you can drive down for the day, or I can try to talk to Miley and get a break. But you're invited to that. I will be making a big announcement about our PAC chair. And I'm working with the AFL-CIO, head of the state, who happens to be a woman. She's over all of these male-dominated unions. And that's Teresa King, who wants to work with us. So we're gonna be working, seeing how we can work together. And that gives us strength and we give them strength. So there is a lot of stuff that's going on right now. So, do you want me to take questions, or
Yes.
did I suck up all the time?
Question.
Yes.
Explain more about how Florida is the testing ground for 2025 and why us and not another state.
Well, I would say that the competition is between us and Texas, But I told them that we have it worse. Because unless you can beat what we have in our state, which is Trump, DeSantis, Scott, and Rubio, we win. All right, why do I say that? Because preemption started in 2021. And if you look at what DeSantis has been doing, he has his own personal militia. Okay? Why? All right, they have literally ransacked the public schools. He is using tax money to fight our amendments, our petitions, and he doesn't really have the right to do it. All right, he fired progressive state attorneys like Andrew Warren, okay, and then paid a buttload of money to make sure Andrew didn't win. All right, the legislation, they're turning it back. So if you had a bill that's out there that protected, say, your kids, the bill said minors cannot work past 6 o'clock at night or whatever it was. Now you have a bill that says minors can work until midnight. They don't have to be paid minimum wage either. That's 2025. The fact that they have increased the prices where they can to take our money, they've increased the insurance, they've increased our electrical power, and for those independent power companies like Alachua, he is going after them. Any way to make it harder for us to stay in the state of Florida and to break the middle class. This is 2025.
In the CR that was just passed yesterday, I couldn't get the latest information on the support for research for children's cancer. Did it?
It passed, but at a lower price, I think maybe half of the money.
The Senate added it.
The Senate passed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Put it back.
And I think Tom King floated that bill in the Senate.
okay. I knew there was a possibility, I just hadn't.
Yeah, no, they did put money back in, but remember that all of this, I think, comes up again in March.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
My question, but my family lives, some of my family live in Maryland, and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter are wearing little blue bead bracelets that they say are a not advertising what. If you see somebody with one of those, do you know? Yeah, and, yeah, I forgot mine today, but just a thought.
What is it, just a straight
Show her
little
that.
stretchy blue bead?
Just a beaded bracelet, no sign or anything, it just says if you see someone wearing one, they're safe.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I get it. They're gonna catch on to that when we say for too long, right?
I was gonna say that the 2024 election was, I think, largely about the Tax Act. What, 60 billionaires and trillionaires and corporations that supported Trump were concerned about that Tax Act being revoked in 2025. So here it is, one way to take some action is, where does Trump get his money from? The corporations, Musk, and Bezos, and 72% of the sales in the U.S., these companies make are from us. So if you want to continue to buy things from Amazon and Musk and all the other corporations, then you're supporting, Trump.
I will say something about this. Number one, I'm not gonna stop buying from Amazon, because half the stuff I need I can't find anywhere but on Amazon. However, if you wanna hurt them, and I've thought about this more than once, is I could reach out to NFDW, which is our national federation, okay? And start floating the idea of like not buying anything on a particular day, countrywide. You wanna hurt them, you do it that way. Because your individual sacrifice is gonna be lost, nobody cares. But if they don't have business for a whole day, or they lose half their business,
I'll also
And
say
support
that
their
if you
unions.
continue to watch
Oh, definitely, so, well, you know, AFL-CIO, okay, I'm union all the way.
If you continue to watch CNN, CNBC, that's all corporate. I watch YouTube, Donald Dollamore, Midas Touch. There's a number of people on YouTube that give it to you straight.
Yeah, you can get there, I mean, I watch other channels, I watch Al Jazeera, CNN. I mean, I do go to other channels, Zateo, okay, Medi, yeah, I do that. But still, a lot of stuff that we see, or just hooking in and knowing that there's gonna be a hearing somewhere, I get it quicker on one of those corporate channels, and then flip over to YouTube to actually watch the hearing. So, but I still think we need them. And so does 6. It's the only one, we have to have something that is gonna go out nationally. If you stay in these information silos that everybody's going to, this is the problem we have. You're not getting it all. So you have to, I mean, I love this idea. We're so used to it. Just protest, it means something. No, not anymore. Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to get rid of that mindset. It is not a matter of protesting the way you want, which is individual, maybe it makes you feel better, but you're not getting anywhere.
But see, we're getting
Spend your
distorted.
time on where it does get somewhere.
But the news is distorted. I mean, one thing the commercial stations, did they ever address what the effects of Trump's tariffs are? No. They don't. I have people saying, well, we didn't even what
No,
they
no,
want.
that's incorrect, that statement's wrong. I don't wanna get into this with you, but I'm telling you, this is not good advice. I'm telling you this. I spend all my time on things like this, trying to figure out what's the best way for us. I'm working with professionals. And we have to do it in a manner where it matters.
In terms of getting informed, I like your promotion of Blue Sky. Do you have any podcasts that you recommend that put out, including Medi and Stacey Abrams and other
Honestly,
podcasts
I
that you
don't
like?
have the time for that. I can
So you don't
ask,
listen to podcasts?
I only listen like Rachel's. I just don't have
Yeah,
the
I
time. If I'm writing speeches, I'm designing websites, I'm, attending meetings. I don't have the time for that. I'm serious. And at some point, honestly, my brain needs to. But I do have someone that does that. So I can ask her to give me a preferred list of podcasts and I get it over to Sue. Okay? Will that help?
Well, I have mine, but I thought that might be good for the audience
Oh.
to know about podcasts, because I can tell you that Trump was on lots of podcasts and getting a lot of human kind of interaction, alleged,
Okay, but let
out
me ask
to
you
the
a
great
question.
unwashed.
Right, let me ask you a question. We all pretty much think the same. Those podcasts are not for us. Those podcasts have to be for the ones that don't think the same. Do you understand where I'm putting this? We have to get the information out. Okay, so you can ask Sue to print that list for the group.
Yes.
All right, and they'll have it.
I've heard the Republicans say, Trump say they can cancel the licenses of news stations that they don't like. Can they do that?
They can try. They'll end up in court. Where else is he gonna go? You know, all the money that he's getting, he's gonna be spending
I
in
mean, I
courts.
don't know if they could just do it. just
I don't
like-
think they can just do it. I think there's gonna be a huge fight. And I do know that like the DOD is already prepared to fight whatever's coming their way. That's one of the things that we found out. These different agencies know what's coming. But the problem is, you have these white nationalists that have been embedded in these agencies for decades. And they just didn't do anything about it. Now they're coming out and starting to push policies in the direction they want them to go to. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's going on, but like I said, I think what we need to do is focus on what we can do. And I'm not saying be ignorant to what's going on, but I just don't think we should be absorbing it the way we did during the elections where it affected us so much.
So for those who didn't know, we have 2 elections coming up in Florida for 2 House seats.
Okay. Katie Allen is one.
One's up in the Panhandle, the other's over in the Jacksonville area. The Democratic candidate in the Panhandle area has qualified. She has no primary, so she's in. There's like 6 Democrats running for that office over in the Jacksonville area, so there's a primary. But we need to support those candidates once they finish their
We
primary.
are already supporting gay. We've already had.
I'm just talking to this group.
Oh, okay, but I'm saying the state, we've already sent out, mobilized to all of everybody to let them know about phone banking that we've been doing.
So, but this is our opportunity to do whatever it is we can to help these candidates individually or as a group. So I know I'm going to go out to Tony the Democrat and see if they are going to support them for the postcarding. So we'll keep you in touch on that too. But we need to support because this is our chance. And there's one more, somewhere in the country, there's 3 seats up for special elections. Our chances of taking them are slim, but we have no chance if we don't get out there and do it.
iPad?
Mary, I'm just curious, since there is no longer separation of church and state, does anyone address what is happening in churches and what people are being preached to?
Right.
I've thought about, I don't go to church anymore, but I've thought about maybe just attending and seeing what's happening. Sometimes I'm driving down the road and there's a church there and a church there and one back there, and I think, these are places where people are going and getting information and then touting that they have this spiritual being that supports everything they're doing. And since it's white nationalists, Christian white nationalists, that are pushing a lot of things, I just want to know, did you hear anything in that area?
There's nothing that we can do about that. That's been going on for years. I have 2 sisters that are quote unquote Christians, all right? I'm Orthodox. I'm like, okay, I'm an Orthodox Christian. You can't get more than that. But that they are controlled. Literally, it's all one bundle. So my honest opinion after dealing with this since, oh my God, the 80s, I think, is that that's not a religion. It's a movement. And that's how they've been able to do what they've done, okay? But you still get down to, and this, when you can't afford to put shoes on your kids' feet and send them to school with peanut butter and jelly, they're going to start to ask questions. The problem is how far down the road is that going to take before they wake up? I do think there are safeties are being put in place. There are people that are ready to fight at different levels in the government. Okay, the ACLU is all over this. They're going to be sending me packages of information as I get all of this. If I get enough and it makes sense, I'll put it together and run a webinar for everybody.
And one question along that. Those institutions are still tax exempt, are they not?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're supposed to be politically not involved.
Who's going to, listen, when you've got, just put yourself in legislation, let's say in your House rep, because that's where all this really is going on. There is so much noise and so much activity and so much nonsense being thrown at us in the House of Representatives that no one is taking the time to say, hello, you're breaking the law. And then who's gonna enforce it? The Supreme Court?
Yeah, they're useless.
See, this is the problem. You have to keep taking the questions that you're asking and think through to where it's gonna end up. And that's the problem. It really, it's a huge problem. Trying to think think Move On just sent out something yesterday or the day before, and I reached out to Yvette and asked her, do you want to put this out as a blue alert? Oh, it had to do with something with DeSantis, I honestly can't remember. Her answer was, why bother? He won't take federal money, it's a waste of time. Okay, so she's not wrong. His stance is he will not take federal money, so why would we get all of our women involved at the holidays to push something that we know is never gonna go through?
Money is at the bottom of everything.
Of course it is. That's what's running this whole mess.
Right. I'm sorry, I have two favorite points. My other one is what's happening to our schools and the universal vouchers that are sucking money out of public education. I had asked at one time, is it possible, did anyone talk about this, to do a sort of taxpayers revolt? Not that I don't want to pay my taxes, but I want to put them in a fund, and I want them to be there until legislators actually represent everyone and public institutions. You don't represent me because I'm a Democrat, but you'll take my money anytime.
Right, okay, so I've got the answer for that.
Okay.
It was brought up at 6, and there were a couple of states that actually beat that amendment. They passed constitutional amendments that protected public schools and said you could only use taxpayer money for public schools, and it passed.
But we've already gone past that. They have universal vouchers they will give to anyone, and there's no household test that, you know, if you make a certain amount, then you're not eligible. They'll give it to any.
No, I know that, but that's the way they got around it.
But
You
are
would
we
have to-
past that?
But they what?
Are we past PAST?
I don't know. I could, you know, it's something I can talk to, like some of the legislators when I'm up in Tallahassee. Because the thing is, and this is the problem, those folks that are getting that universal amount of money, a high percentage of people really want the best for their kids. But then you've got the rest that just want to buy new TVs, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and it's also going to private, religious.
No, I know where it's going, but I'm telling you, the way the other states got around it, because they are pushing this. Everything that we've got here, they're starting to push out in other states. More so in the southern states. It's the southern states, okay? The northern states are still smart enough to go, But the problem would be, would we get enough signatures on that to get it on a ballot? And would people really recognize that it's better that their taxpayer money go to public schools and not to all this other nonsense?
Well, husband and I work with Wildwood Booster Club, and the students at Wildwood High School and a large number of villagers, et cetera, are always fundraising to provide what those students need.
Yeah.
And before you go back to Citrus, you may want to take a drive down and see the new facilities in the southern part of the district that are charter school facilities.
I don't need to, we've got them over by us, we've got them in Pinellas, I went through this with my grandkids in Pinellas.
And that taxpayers are not told those loans are taken out, and that guess who's going to repay those loans?
Of course we are.
And there's no statistics, no information on how much money is taken out of the budget that the county school districts have.
But this relates to their dumbing down the kids. It's all related, all of it.
Well, if you could prove that, I don't know how many parents would say, well, I'm on board with that.
Well, there you go. That's why I said, let me talk. There's a few legislators, a few House reps that are very much in the education area.
We've tried to have school board members come and speak to the group. They kind of tiptoe around stuff.
They're afraid.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm going to give this back to Sue. I hope I didn't scare you all.
So we were gonna talk about the bylaws, but I don't know if we have time today.
When you said it, I thought you meant
I want to let everybody know we're going to Delaware, for lunch today. And because we have so many, I kind of go to that place because it's kind of close. And, you know, a lot of the places won't like take it, but at the last minute take a fruit. They're very good about that.
Where is it?
Where is it again? We didn't hear it.
Beltway, Moyer, come out here, you make a right. Make a right on Moyer.
I wanted to also mention that in January,
Yes,
in January, we're not gonna have a normal meeting, we have people that are going to Washington to be in the People's March. And also, it's also Martin Luther King Day, and there will be marches around the area, and I'm gonna send out the information about that. I think that's good for us to get involved in the activities of, for Martin Luther King Day. I think that's a good thing for us to do. As Mary said, we should be trying to work with a more diverse group. It is, the villages is very, homogeneous. And so there are a few people that are outside that aren't white, but and we can invite them in. But last time I tried to invite them in, they said we're not interested in politics. We're not interested in. We're just a social club. So.
No meeting in January?
I'm sorry, no, there will be no meeting in January. I was sending out information about that. Also, I wanted to mention we do support, other clubs, and there is a March 8th. There's a scholarship lunch in Citrus County. I would highly recommend that people go to it because it's a good cause, and we should support that kind of thing. And the other thing is, I did send out the bylaws to everybody in the membership, some of which I received feedback from, some I didn't. Maybe we can set up a separate Zoom to actually cover the bylaws so that we can get people's input prior to the end of the month. And we have 50-50. Joe?
Yeah.
Sue, I think Michelle has some information. We're all set for February 15th with the caterer and the entertainment. I didn't know if you had been.
Yeah, we didn't have a holiday party in December because it was hard to find a good caterer. And so we moved it out to February,
15th.
and I think we have a very good one now.
February 15th.
We're gonna try to have a Hawaiian theme around family. So,
Same caterer as last time? The same caterer as last year?
yeah, we couldn't get her.
We did ask a couple of years ago.
I'll send out information about that as well.
Do I know what? No.
Give Mary a job.
You know, I get these letters saying we're making a
I was at the top
Okay, everybody ready? 162548. Oh, thank you. That was easy.
Again. Excellent.
162561.
Congratulations. I hope everybody, will meet, see some of these people, I guess we'll see at Gold Lake, hopefully.